There's a strange kind of poetry in discomfort. Every age finds its own way to suffer beautifully, and for nearly 400 years, no man suffered quite so elegantly as the medieval knight. Our story begins not on a battlefield, but in the gray dawn of a castle that doesn't remember comfort. The year is 1385. A boy named Thomas wakes on a straw mattress soaked in chill and the smell of horses. He is 16, though his back feels 60. He is a squire, which means his life belongs to someone else, a towering barrel-chested knight called Sir John, whose snoring sounds like a bear swallowing gravel. For years, Thomas has polished Sir John's armor, scrubbed his horse's stall, and endured his temper. But today, the dream comes true. Today, he will wear armor of his own. It isn't new or shining. It's a hand-me-down, dented, rusted, and filled with the ghosts of 3 squires before him. Every dream, he realizes, has a smell. This one smells like iron, sweat, and disappointment. They begin with the gambeson, a padded linen jacket stuffed with horsehair and old rags, stitched by hands that understood neither comfort nor mercy. When they lace him into it, Thomas can't breathe. It squeezes his chest like a python made of quilts. Then comes the chainmail, a river of oily iron rings poured over his head, 40 pounds of misery, dragging on his shoulders like regret. The older squire cinches a belt around his waist, transferring the weight from his shoulders to his hips. The relief is short-lived. When Thomas takes his first steps, the metal sings, a chorus of clinks and scrapes. He is a walking wind chime of human suffering. In the courtyard, banners flap and sunlight gleams off polished steel. Trumpets call. Knights strut like gods. But Thomas waddles like a penguin who's had a very bad day. And when the sun presses against the iron and the padding begins to cook him alive, he understands the real enemy of chivalry. Not the dragon, not the sword, but the sun itself. Inside the armor, there is no air, no escape, only sweat trapped between layers of fabric and steel. He is a boy-shaped cauldron of boiling dreams. Years pass. The boy becomes the man. The squire becomes Sir Thomas, and the world of war evolves around him. Now it is the year 1410, and he stands in the heart of Milan, where blacksmiths are artists and armor is high fashion. Piece by piece, they build a new skin around him, steel plates shaped like sculpture. This isn't the jangling misery of mail. This is plate armor, the Ferrari of personal protection. It gleams like liquid silver. It promises invincibility. It costs more than a farm. When the last buckle is fastened, the weight feels balanced, evenly distributed. For the first time, he can move, even breathe. For a moment, he laughs. Then the armor hands him the bill, and the weight of the armor doubles. He is no longer just a warrior. He is a man in debt, wearing a mortgage of steel. Every knight, it seems, was one good battle away from bankruptcy. The armorer isn't finished. He brings out the final piece, a helmet with a pointed snout, the hound skull bassinet. When Thomas lowers it over his head, the world vanishes. The light fades to a narrow slit. The sound of the forge dulls to a heartbeat. All that remains is the echo of his own breathing, loud, wet, and lonely. In this prison of steel, he is both God and ghost, protected from the world and cut off from it entirely. The tournament yard roars. 100 knights shimmer beneath the sun. Sir Thomas mounts his horse, armor creaking like the hull of a ship. For a moment, he feels it, the dream that began on that straw mattress. He is thunder on horseback, half man, half myth. Then the horse spooks. A cat darts across the yard. The night falls. The clang that follows echoes through every street in Milan. He's unhurt, but he can't get up. He lies on his back, arms and legs flailing helplessly, a turtle made of money and poor decisions. They say the knight's greatest enemy was the sword. They were wrong. It was gravity. Years later, the jokes end. The armor is no longer for show. It's for survival. France, mud, rain. The long gray stretch of the 100 Years' War. Sir Thomas stands beside his men, a wall of metal grinding forward through arrows and fire. His friend, Sir Reginald, charges ahead, bold, loud, laughing, until a French soldier hooks his ankle with a poleaxe. There's a splash and silence. Steel sinks fast. That's not chivalry. That's physics. No man, no matter how brave, can swim in 60 pounds of iron. Moments later, Thomas sees a glint on the battlements, a crossbow. The devil's own invention. His armor is said to be proof against arrows. He believes it. He shouldn't. The bolt strikes his chest. It doesn't pierce, it dents. And through that dent, the force travels straight into his ribs. The world goes white. He doesn't die, but he meets pain in its purest form. That day he learns a brutal truth. Armor doesn't make you invincible. It just changes how you break. He recovers slowly, but his real enemy never leaves the field. It follows him home, small, silent, relentless. Rust. His squire, Henry, spends every morning fighting it. Oil, vinegar, sand, the sacred ritual of scraping yesterday off tomorrow. Polish, polish, polish. Because if you stop for even a week, your glory turns to orange dust. Every knight was just a janitor for his own legend. Years pass again. The war ends, not with a roar, but a ledger. Sir Thomas grows old. His armor becomes a monument in the corner of his hall. At feasts, he still wears it, not for protection, but for pride. The steel no longer guards his life. It guards his status. The peasants see a hero. The nobles see a price tag. And Thomas sees a prison of his own making. He can't lift his goblet without squeaking. He can't feel the warmth of the fire through the metal on his chest. Yet still, he wears it. Because that's what being a knight means now. Endurance, image, the performance of strength, even when it hurts. The years turn again. Now the sun burns hotter. The air is dry and cruel. Jerusalem. Sir Thomas, gray-haired but proud, rides with the Crusaders. His Milan armor gleams like a mirror and becomes one. The sun reflects from every surface and cooks him alive inside. He fights, but not against men. He fights his own body, his own breath, his own sweat. Knights collapse on the march, their helmets too hot to touch, their padding soaked in boiling salt. For all their steel, they are still flesh, and flesh always loses to the sun. Decades later, the fire fades, the wars end. Sir Thomas lives long enough to see a world that no longer needs him. 1453, the Battle of Castillon, the English cavalry charges for the last time. Across the field, the French roll out something new. Carts, smoke, and a sound that splits the air. Not the twang of a bow, but a crack and a boom all at once. Cannon fire. The age of armor dies that day, not with a sword, but with a sound. Bullets ignore chivalry. They do not bow to courage or craftsmanship. They simply pass through both. Now he sits by the fire, old, brittle, half-deaf. His armor stands in the corner, silent, gleaming, and empty. He runs a hand along the dent from the mace, the patched hole from the crossbow. Each scar tells a story, each story a lesson. He remembers the sweat, the pain, the smell. He remembers being young and foolish and invincible. And for reasons even he can't explain, he misses it. Because the armor was never just metal. It was a mirror. It showed him who he was and what it cost to be that man. He lifts his gaze to the faint shimmer of moonlight on steel and smiles. Once he was the man inside the metal. Now only the metal remains. But somewhere In the echoes of clashing blades and restless dreams, the night still breathes.